This is a TalkStation original podcast.
Welcome to another episode of The Senior Moment, and this morning you've got myself, Ryan Kelly, as well as Lynn Schultz is back in the studio. So
Hello.
Welcome this morning, Lynn. And today we're going to be there's two things certain in life, right? Death and taxes. We'll leave the taxes part to someone else. But today, Lynn, you found a wonderful guest, Holly Fisher-Chalk, and her business, which is Let's Go In Wellness, and you can always find that at letsgoinwellness.com. And she's here to talk a little bit about death, honestly, as a death doula. So welcome this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So, death doula, I mean, explain. Let's start there.
Yes, so being a death doula means that it's a non-medical approach to being a companion to someone at end of life. So it means that we can be with the person and also be assistance to the family as well.
Hospice is something that I think many people have started to understand or are learning more about. How does death doula fit into that, or what? How does it? Do they work together? I mean, keep going.
That's a great question. That is absolutely a great question. I work alongside hospice. They are so wonderful, and also did a lot of volunteering with hospice as well. But hospice can't be there all the time. So sometimes it's nice to have an additional person to be supportive to the person transitioning and their families when the hospice folks cannot be there.
So when does a death doula start working with somebody? Can you go through kind of the process of when would somebody reach out to you and that all
Sure.
of that?
Sometimes people reach out as they're in the midst of hospice and they're calling because they do need extra help. Other times, people are finding that they need more care before hospice. You know, our elders in either at home or at different assisted living places, people need more assistance. We are coming into an age of this tidal silver tsunami coming to hit us. And so there's going to be a lot more aging population that needs help at the end of life.
And what kind of help does a death doula provide?
Okay, great. So for me, it's been a transition, more of a natural transition. I've been working with folks for over 30 years being a massage therapist. So it wasn't uncommon for people to call me and ask for hands-on care at the end of life. And what I found over the last couple of years is I wanted to do more with the families outside of the scope of massage therapy practice. So an end-of-life doula can help in a lot of different ways. It can be making sure they have their advanced care directives. If that's something that they don't have in line already, we can walk through those processes. We can even start working with how do they want to be remembered, a legacy project for their family members. Or maybe sometimes, post-COVID, funerals changed quite a bit. So now people are not wanting to have funeral right away. And maybe they want to have a celebration of life even before they pass. So things are changing, and those are some different ways that we can help.
How do we learn about being a death doula? How does somebody learn about the death doula program? Because it's hospice, again, just jumping back to hospice, it was something that wasn't very well known, has become more well known, and people are starting to understand that that's not just being on hospice doesn't mean that you're about to pass away. But this is a whole new extension of it. So how did this come about? Is there a death doula national group, or kind of how did this position or this assistance come about in existence?
Sure.
Actually, there's birthing doulas.
Right.
Which came first, chicken or the egg? Was it the birthing doulas and then the death doulas, or?
I think that's a good point, because the people that wanted birth doulas in the 70s are now in their 70s and 80s. So they were the same people that wanted to have more choices and control of their care during their births. Now there are the same people that want more choices of their care during their death. Right now, you had asked about, is there a regulation process for end-of-life doulas? So at this point, there is not a regulation licensing for end-of-life doulas. There is an end-of-life doula national alliance, which once you have your training, you'd want to take their exam to show that you're proficient in understanding the fundamentals of being an end-of-life doula. So that's what I did. Once I realized I wanted to, or I was already sort of doing an end-of-life doula care, I was like, oh, okay, nobody's doing that around here, and I need to find more training for myself. So that was my first step, was get more training for myself. And then not only did I want to learn for myself, but I also wanted to be able to share that information with others so we can create a network of people that can assist as we're needing this care more and more.
And what kind of training do you receive?
So when I went to my training, I did most of my training online and through webinars. There's a lot of different ways that you can do the training to become an end-of-life doula. Either in person, you could go to a facility and they have maybe a full week training, or there's places that have webinars over a course of several weeks or months. And then almost every place encourages you to get involved with your local hospice and start volunteering there as well.
How have you worked with the hospices in this area? How has that relationship gone so far?
I mostly have worked with our local hospice house in the Newport area and volunteering there. And then also, as people are becoming interested in the course that I offer for becoming an end-of-life doula, those people start volunteering with them as well. I've built close relationships with those folks, and they've also come to be guest speakers at the monthly coffee, tea, and conversations meeting that I have each month. So that meeting is just something that we do every single month to bring more awareness to our community. Everybody's welcome. It's a free event. And we have different guest speakers. So Sharon, the volunteer coordinator from that hospice group, came to speak with us 1 week or 1 month. And then another time, a financial advisor came in. An estate planning attorney came in. Other end-of-life doulas have come in. So it's just different topics each month to bring more awareness to our community.
I'm excited to have you here just because I don't think people I've talked about today, speaking with you, and I say we've got a death doula, and you get the blank stare of what is a death doula. So it is, I think, just wonderful for you to be here and explain it, and hopefully this will get more folks involved because I really do think it's a great thing. I think for families, for the person passing, to have that comfort, to have someone who knows what you're going through, can empathize with what you're going through. I just think it's fascinating.
And that's
so
really
needed.
What it's about is when I come in to work with a family, first of all, I meet with them and consult, and we talk about what their goals are, what their needs are, what would they like for themselves or for their family member while they're transitioning, and if I'm the right fit for them. And if I'm not, I'm building resources in this community so I can find the right fit. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to go in and just simply put your ego aside and show up exactly how the family needs you.
It really sounds like with the trainings that you've been getting and the networking that you have a vast amount of knowledge and connections, and so not only can you help them just in your role as a death doula of the support, but also if they have any questions about what's going on or who to reach out to between financial advisors, and I mean you've got connections everywhere.
Well, I'm hoping to build that network, making sure that people have access if I don't have the answers for them, because my expertise is care. I want to be there for the family, and whether it's doing that legacy or sitting vigil with them. I'm not a financial advisor, but if they need help with that, I'm certainly going to be able to try to connect them.
Point them in the right direction, and I think that's great. And I know that you've actually come into Carteret Landing and visited with our residents and helped them for this process that we're all family, and when we lose a resident, it affects the whole community because we are all family. So, but I think in listening to you, it's might be important for you to come in and talk to families, because we do see mom and dad, they're passing, they've not experienced that before, and they don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. So to have that knowledge, I just can see can be so beneficial.
Yes.
Absolutely, at that point in time.
That would be wonderful. And again, that gives them more time and choices for their care.
Absolutely.
So we're about at the time that we should be taking a break. So this seems like a good spot. We'll take a break, and then we'll be back in just a minute.
Hi, this is Lynn Schultz at Carteret Landing. We invite you to visit our beautiful assisted living community. Carteret Landing pairs exceptional, compassionate senior care with the stylings of a resort. Our beautifully appointed suites, common areas, and bright and engaging memory care neighborhood can provide you or your loved one with the quality living they deserve. Carteret Landing is in Morehead City, right behind the Friendly Market. Come by and see us today or call for your personal tour at 252-773-0980.
This is Mary Lou Infinito, Advanced Care Planning Coordinator and Certified Death Doula for ECU Health, and you are listening to Senior Moment.
Welcome back. You've got myself, Ryan Kelly, and Lynn. And today, again, we are discussing the death doula and what is a death doula with Holly Fisher-Chalk. And so, again, thank you very much for being in the studio with us. What was it that I know you mentioned how you learned that there really weren't any death doulas in this area, but what is it that even got you into this field? Is it something that you experienced personally, or what? How did you get here?
That's a good question. Like I said, I've been doing massage for over 30 years, and it was just through my experiences of people asking me to be with their loved ones, or my client themselves asking me to be with them for comfort care, with hands-on comfort care, whether it be massage or cranial sacral work or something like that. And then I just realized how much I wanted to be there more often outside of the scope of massage therapy. And it wasn't until I was talking to someone outside of Eastern North Carolina on the phone, and I said, I really would like to be doing more for the families. And she had said, oh, well, it sounds exactly like you want to be an end-of-life doula, or you're already doing end-of-life doula work. And I said, okay, so what does that mean, and how do I get started? And that's sort of what sent me down the path of being an end-of-life doula, is like, okay, I don't know about this. How can I get started? And then once I did get started a few years back, last year, when I was starting to feel more comfortable in our community, and I'm like getting more comfortable being in front of people, I'm like, okay, let me start having these conversations in coffee shops. Now, about 20 years ago in Europe, they started having coffee chats around the conversation about dying. Then they're called death cafes. And I knew that if I brought the conversation of having a death cafe in Carteret County, it wasn't going. Nobody would show up.
Right.
Nobody would show up. The coffee shops wouldn't let me in. So
Oh my gosh.
I just changed the name a little bit and call it Coffee, Tea, and Conversations about conscious dying. And we have. It's a wide group of people that come each month, so it's really a wonderful way to get information out there of what an end-of-life doula can bring to our community.
That's wonderful.
I would think, as you said, the silver tsunami is coming, that the more you talk, the more the word's going to get out, just by folks talking to their friends, to their family, and spreading that word. So coffee shops are great.
Can you tell us a little bit about, not the specific families, but just the experiences that the families have had and what they've said that you did was really, really helpful to them?
One of the great things about being in contact with these families is, even after the person has transitioned, is staying in contact. So I'll continue to stay in contact. I know hospice does the same thing. I'll reach out to them once a month or so and either do a phone call or FaceTime or something, so we still can connect. They might be already getting grief counseling, which I hope they are, but it's also nice to still stay in contact with, I was there during the last moments,
Right.
and it's just a really special moment. I had a very unusual situation with a family. Not unusual, I would say atypical instead of unusual. So a family had reached out to me to be an end-of-life doula for them and for their person passing. And they said that the person that was in transition just wasn't ready, but they had plenty of time. The prognosis was 8 months, and they're like, can you just keep talking to our family members first before you start coming into the house? They weren't ready for me to come into the house. And I said, absolutely. I'm happy to work with the family, get everybody comfortable before going there. So we created a contract, and we started working together, doing self-regulated techniques with meditation and breath work, or just walking on the beach with a family member and having conversations or massage. The person that was transitioning passed away within 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
So we didn't have that opportunity to work together in that way. But I still had the opportunity to work with the family for the next few months and continue to work with that family today. Still reach out to them. And, we no longer have a contract, but absolutely, some people still want to stay in contact. And on the flip side, other times people are like, no, that was a really tough time for me. I don't need the reminders. I'm so glad that you were there, but maybe it's time for our relationship to end. So again, there's no harm in that either. It's simply, again, putting my ego aside and showing up exactly how they need me to be.
Certainly, that's the support that you're able to give is it sounds like it's so important, and it is a very difficult time when people are transitioning and passing away. So, but I want to transition. You're a massage therapist, and you still do massage therapy?
Yes.
Okay, and so how? Where are you doing? Is that
How,
through?
what, when, where?
Good. Is that primarily how you find your clients, or for the death doula, or is that just completely separate? And you're Batman and Robin, or Bruce Wayne and Batman?
I have a little studio downtown Morehead City. They're completely separate. Occasionally, like I said, when I first started transitioning into doing end-of-life doula work, it was because those clients were asking me for themselves or for family members. But currently, it's mostly word of mouth that people are just getting to know what we do as far as end-of-life doulas or death companions. And, sometimes hospice might reach out in regards to a family needing more help. But usually it's just word of mouth at this point.
Because you're right, hospice is a great tool, but they aren't necessarily with the person at end of life. So to have the ability to be there for that, especially we have a lot of families that don't live in the state.
Sure.
So they're not here. Like you said, it might be, we think 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and it happens in 2-3 days. So to have somebody there is so
And it's
important.
great to have relationships with you, too, where people aren't in hospice, but they also need that little bit of extra care right now.
Right, absolutely.
All of us are going to pass away at some point. We can't avoid it. And so your ability to offer that support and help with those conversations, those are difficult conversations for everybody, and the emotions for the person who is passing to all of the family members. That's such a wide range of people that you're assisting through this whole process. It's really important.
So the massage therapy, do you see more of the elderly? Do you see a lot of young folks? Is there an age, more dynamics with that?
Well, I think in our community, it's such a retirement community anyway. So, I do see a lot of older folks in my massage practice, but it's not solely towards them. And mostly right now, I'm not taking, sorry, Josh. Sorry, you'll have to cut that.
It's all right. I answered anything, so.
But unfortunately, I'm not taking on new clients for my massage therapy practice because I want to expand more into being available for end-of-life doula work. So I have my clients that I work with on a regular basis for their health maintenance, but I'm scaling back a little bit on that so I can expand more to be more available for end-of-life.
And it's great that you're so passionate about the end of life doula. I mean, that's very rewarding. How do you take care of yourself? Because I know that's one of the hard things for us as a team is when we have our residents pass away, it can really affect all of us. So how do you keep yourself healthy and mentally okay with seeing people that you develop that relationship with?
And people sometimes ask, is it difficult to be in that situation, or I could never do that type of work because I'm too emotional. And I would say if you want to do this work, it's okay to be emotional, and it's important to have those self-care tools in your pocket to know what you can rely on. For me, I need to get outside. I need outside. I need to take deep breaths. I need to meditate. I even have little rituals, excuse me, before I do go into work with end-of-life clients and afterwards, So maybe it's simply taking those breaths when I come out, touching the ground or touching a tree, getting connected back to myself. So
now you mentioned people saying I couldn't do this work, or some people saying I'd like to do this work. How would somebody become a death doula? Or how could they reach out to you? How would you help somebody get to become what you do? Okay.
And, I think also with people wanting to do this type of work, you can have all different types of backgrounds. Maybe being side by side with somebody at the end of life is not what you want to do, but you're great at administrative tasks and helping them with figuring out how to do insurances and driver license and that kind of thing. In order to become an end-of-life doula, like I said, there's no regulation right now. So anybody could go out and say that they're doing end-of-life doula work. I personally think it's important to have a foundation and fundamentals before practicing, and I do offer a course.
So if somebody wanted to get into this field, is that something you could help them with? How would they do so?
Absolutely. Someone can reach out to me, and we have courses available throughout the year for end-of-life doula, and it has continuing education hours for both massage therapists and anybody who wants to become an end-of-life doula. And you can reach me at letsgoinwellness.com.
Well, I think that's about all that we have time for today. So
thank you so much.
Yes, Holly, thank you so
you.
much for coming in and talking about being a death doula.
Yes, it was
and
a
hopefully
pleasure.
this is something we can get your information more out and also get more people doing this, because it's a really
Absolutely.
important thing. So again, senior moment. Lynn, thank you again.
Absolutely.
And have a wonderful evening, y'all.
Hi, this is Lynn Schultz at Carteret Landing. We invite you to visit our beautiful assisted living community. Carteret Landing pairs exceptional, compassionate senior care with the stylings of a resort. Our beautifully appointed suites, common areas, and bright and engaging memory care neighborhood can provide you or your loved one with the quality living they deserve. Carteret Landing is in Morehead City, right behind the Friendly Market. Come by and see us today or call for your personal tour at 252-773-0980.